Hi class, this is Professor Teixeira. In this video, I'm going to show you how to develop an ABC inventory classification. The idea is that companies have many items in their inventory, mostly raw material and components, but sometimes it's thousands of items and not all of them have the same value of inventory. So we would distinguish some of them as A, some of them as B, some of them as C, depending on the total value used by the company. Let me give you an example and try to explain it better. For example, here we have this company and they have, here's a very simple problem to illustrate and use as a starting point, but only 15 items. And the company has these 15 items and they have different unit values. So item 101 costs $12, 1 unit. Item 1 unit of item 102 costs $50 and so on. And the company used different amounts of this unit of these items per year. So per year, the company uses 80 units of the first item, 10 units of the second item. So this tells us how many units of each item the company is using. So we have the unitary cost and the amount of units that is used per year. What we want to do is we want to figure out which ones of these items the company is spending more money and which ones the company is spending less money. So if the company has to strategically work to reduce the purchase cost or improve supplier relationship to be able to improve the cost performance in certain way, which of these items the company should focus? Well, the company should focus energy and effort on those that the company spends more, which are the A items. The B items, the company spend, but not so much. The C items, company should spend energy because they don't represent much. Okay, so I'm going to use the same table here and these instructions in the next slide to show you how to come up with an ABC classification, and I think that's going to be easier to understand. So here is the items and the same information. What this slide is saying is calculate the annual dollar usage. Okay, so let's call a new annual dollar usage. Let's call that. We can name anything that has to make sense. So the annual dollar usage is going to be equal to the unitary cost times the amount of units the company is using per year. Okay, again, is the unitary cost times the number of items. So the company is using 10 items that cost $50. It's going to be $500. Well, we can keep doing this for all of them by one, but we can simply copy the formula and then we have the dollar usage. We can also format this if we want. We can come here and format to, let's say, currency. Okay, we did that. Let's go next step. List the items in descending order based on the annual dollar usage. So we have the annual dollar usage, and I want to classify in descending order. Okay, descending order means the highest value first. So let's do that. We go to data, and then we go to sort, and we see that it's selecting everything. Then sort by annual dollar usage. I have many options here. Annual dollar usage. And I want from the largest to smallest. I have to change here from the largest to smallest, descending order. So you see in descending order, the item that the company spends more money is item 106, $16,500 per year, and so on. Okay, so we did that. Let's go to the next step. Calculate the cumulative annual dollar volume. Let's do that. Let's put here cumulative dollar value. That's the title. So what this means is I'm gonna sum all these amounts. Okay, the first one is simply the first one because I have no other value to add to this one because it's the first item. The second item is gonna be equal to the previous one plus whatever comes for the next item. Again, the sum of the previous, I'm gonna add the next one. Well, I can keep doing this, but I can simply copy the formula. Okay, so it's adding, it's accumulating. Each new row is adding more money to the cumulative dollar value column. So this is the total the company is spending per year, $47,000, almost $48,000. Okay, beautiful. Let's go to the next one. Classify the items into the groups. So what I have to do here is, there's one more step that is important to do, is percentage. What is the item? Let's say percentage of, let's say, annual dollar usage. Let's do this. Okay. So what I want to do here is, this item here represents how much of this total. This is the total because it's summing everything. So this one represents how much of this one. Okay, how much this second item represents of this total. How much the third item represents from all this total, and so on. I want to know each item, how much they represent from the total. Okay, so to do that, what I do is I get the annual dollar usage and I divide by the last cell in the cumulative dollar value, because it's the total. Then I do it again. The second one divided by the last value. Well, I can keep doing that, but if I have hundreds or thousands of rows, it's gonna take a while. So it's easier to simply lock this last cell and copy the formula to all other rows. Okay, so how do we lock this other cell? Let's lock the first one. We could lock the second one. So you see, I click on the formula tab, and formula it's not tab, it's like the formula space here. I don't know how to, forgot how to call this. Just to see that the red one is the cell I want to lock. Then I come here and I type a dollar sign in front of the E, which is this column, and I type a dollar sign in front of 16, which is this row. So it's locking this cell E16. Now I can drag the formula all the way to the end. And you see that are in decimals. And just to make sure I'm doing things correctly. So I'm getting this 500 and dividing by this. I can go in any other cell, just test. So I click here and then I go to the formula tab, formula bar, whatever, is getting this row, which I want, divided by the total. So it's fine. Now what I do to change that into percentage, I highlight everything, go to home, go to here the center where I can format. There is this percent style. I can do that. I can increase one decimal place maybe. Let's see, one decimal place. One decimal place. Let's put, yes, okay. So you see that this first item represents 34%, second item 26, and so on. Well, our step doesn't say that, but what I tell you to do is now get a cumulative percentage. Cumulative percentage is going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to accumulate the sum of all these percentages. So the first one is going to be equal to the first one. There's nothing to add to it. The second one is going to be the previous one plus whatever I have in the next row for the item percentage. Next one is going to be the same thing, the previous one in the cumulative plus whatever I have in the item percentage. Okay, I can keep doing that, or simply now I can drag the formula. I can go to the last one and see if it's summing correctly. Yes, it's summing the previous one plus whatever I have here. All right, now it's much easier to determine which items are A and which items are B. We can come here and create a category. Category row, let's category row. Category. So now the category, to determine which one is a category A, that's a policy. A policy is whatever the company wants, whatever is important for the company. Most of the time, category A has at least 60% of the cumulative annual dollar usage, okay? So if I want 60% to be A, this first one and the second one would be A, okay? So what this is saying is these two items represent 60% of all my my annual dollar usage, okay? So these two items here represents $29,000, which is 60% of everything. Okay, let's say I want to increase instead of only 60% for A category, I want 70% for my A category. So now I included one more item because I have 69%, almost 70%. So these three items here, they represent 70% of all money invested in inventory, all money spent in inventory for items, for parts, for components, for raw material. So if I want to, like, let's say, be strategic, I would find ways of working on these three items to reduce the cost and reduce my my expenses. Okay. Now, the B category also varies, is a policy we can set as the next 20% from 70, 20% more to 90% are B category. So up to here, 90% is B category. So this one is B category, B, and B. Now you see my B category is 20%. So these items here represent 20% of my annual expenses with items in inventory. Okay. And the remaining 10% from 90% to 100 are C category C items. So you see that we have like, how many we have here? We have 7 items out of 15. Half of them represent 10%, represent very little. We shouldn't like spend time, effort, energy working on reducing or optimizing or finding ways of reducing the expenditure with these items because we didn't spend much. Okay, so again, the ABC category, ABC inventory classification, that's how we do and that's how we use it. Okay.